Hey, everybody, very excited to have Derek Trucks with us. Derek, thank you so much for being here. Great honor.
Thanks for having me, man.
So I want to talk first about you doing Layla and other assorted love songs, and it just seems like fate declared that you had to do this because, you know, of course, you're named after the band, Derek and the Dominoes. But I was just doing a little research, and is it true that your wife, Susan, was actually born on the release date of Layla?
It is, and you know, we found that out the day we were heading to rehearsal in New York City to rehearse that full record with the band, and I thought it was another cool nod to why we should be doing it. And you know, there's a lot of family history with that record. Dwayne Allman, who was in the Allman Brothers with my uncle, they all met Clapton and Tom Dowd on the session at a show down in South Florida. And I think when I was 12 or 13, one of the first recording sessions I did was in Criteria Studio with Tom Dowd, and it was pretty surreal because a lot of magic happened down in that spot. So yeah, it felt like it almost felt like we needed to face this record down and it all and record it and then move on. And so it ended up being an incredible night and turned into a record. So
yeah, well, it's really it's incredible. I just have to ask you though. You obviously grew up with the music. You said your dad would play it as you were going to bed. It was like in your DNA. That said, what was it like when you were even growing up with it, when you're in front of the audience and you hit that first riff on Layla that we've all heard a billion times, and every time it's just as magical?
I mean, this show was one of those unique nights because we didn't announce what we were doing. So as you start playing the tunes from the album, the crowd starts figuring out what's happening. And so you feel this energy coming back and this anticipation. And that being the last song we played of the night, there was a lot of anticipation for that one. So pretty incredible. The audience there at that festival is pretty magical at times. And, you know, when there's 10, 20,000 people really tuned into the same thing, it's a good day. My dad was sitting side stage. He got a good seat for that one. So I knew when we walked off stage and he had this big goofy grin on his face that it was a good night because he won't blow smoke if it's not so good. He'll just he won't say it wasn't good, but you can feel it. So he's a great judge. He keeps us honest.
You got the sign of approval. So while we're talking about drummers, let's talk about Tyler Greenwell, who I actually grew up with, played music with, along with Tyler and my dear friend Dave Simmons. That guy would sometimes show up in very nice restaurants playing. I'd turn around in the middle of the song, and Tyler wouldn't be wearing any clothes. Is he still a clothes-optional drummer now?
Yeah, he's you got to keep somebody around with a robe just in case. He hasn't changed a bit, maybe a little bit. He was able to trick somebody into marrying him, and he has children, and he's pretending to be an adult, but he's incredible, man. He's one of those guys that musically and personally you would want in a foxhole with you, and we've been through a lot together. And yeah, he met a good friend of ours, Colonel Bruce Hampton, who changed his life musically, and he changed mine.
Well, I'm really glad to know that you've been keeping him out of jail and keeping him with a steady job, and now, guys, even married. Yeah, mostly for the most part. For the most part. Yeah. So you're talking about being in a foxhole. Mika's my wife and co-host of the show. We felt so blessed during COVID. We felt terrible for so many other people, but we worked together. And so we got to be in the foxhole together during COVID. I have so many friends, so many musician friends whose worlds just blew apart. They were separated from their friends. They were separated from band members. How important was it for you to have your soulmate next to you, who also happened to be your musical soulmate?
I mean, we are so lucky. We built a studio behind our home in maybe 2006. So we made all of our records here, and we were able to stay busy and keep working and keep playing. And the first few months, I don't think we touched an instrument, but then we got really antsy, and we ended up, between me and Susan and our group, maybe writing 30, 35 tunes. And as soon as we could get people tested, we'd have them hole up down here in our studio. And, we ended up with like 3 or 4 records coming out of the lockdown. So pretty an amazing thing. Mike Madison, who is a great singer-songwriter in our band and our Harvard English major soul singer, which is a unique combination. He had this idea to dig into a source material. So he sent around the Layla Majnun poem, the original Persian poem. And his thing about the original Layla record was it's pretty one note thematically. It's this guy in love with a woman that he can't have. And Mike was like, what did Layla think about this psychopath? Like, what was her take on it? So everybody ended up writing tunes after reading this 12th century poem. And so there's a lot of amazing material that came out of it. But it was such a blessing being home with Susan and our kids. We got to spend more time than we ever have. We've been on the road 300 days a year, 200 days a year for 15, 20 years. So we enjoyed it. It was a tough time in a lot of ways, and for everybody. We all lost people, and but we felt incredibly fortunate to keep doing what we do and not lose our minds. Well, not all.
Well, I was going to say, Derek, for a band like yours, it seems like you get on the train and it never stops, because you've got to keep touring, because that's the essence of who you are, who your band was. This past year and a half, for all of the downside, I would think it was a great opportunity to stop and reassess where you were artistically, what you wanted to do, and you could rest up. I bet you're just raring to go now.
Yeah, when we finally got out and started playing shows, I don't think I didn't hear anyone whine or moan on the bus. I've never experienced that. There's a lot more of just everyone is so grateful to be back at it. A lot more gratitude across the board, and I think everybody realizes how fortunate we are to do what we do. And yeah, it's a different sense. I mean, there was I think the world needed a soft, maybe hard reset in a lot of ways. And like a lot of these things, we think we learned something and then we fall back into old habits. But I do think some of it, a lot of us will carry a lot of those lessons with us forward. And but
no doubt about it.
Lucky to be doing it.
Yeah, so lucky. A lot of gratitude, and that's something. Same with our family, and I know so many other people. Kyle Meredith's with us and has got a question. Kyle.
Yeah, Kyle Meredith, WFPK here. You and Susan, as Joe said, being able to be holed up, you've been doing the fireside performances this whole time, and that put you back to being a duo. I was actually just kind of curious, as a guitarist, how much did you have to change what you did, how you played on a regular basis? Did that have much effect?
I mean, it made me realize how much I appreciate our band when you don't have to carry it all by yourself. But yeah, I mean, it changes the whole thing. You have to fill all the space when you're the only one there. But it made me realize that some of
you do a few follows
incredible, and they hold up on their own, and that was a part of it. It also made me realize I really love hearing Susan's voice in a stripped down setting. It's such an incredible instrument. So, but we had never done a duo show ever. We maybe done a song or two over the 20 years we've been together, but that's the first time we've sat down and done a set. It was nice. It was kind of liberating. We realized, you know what? If we need to work, we could just we could hop in the car, 2 guitars, we could get this thing done. So we learned a lot.
It's interesting too, because no matter what the setting you're in, I can tell. I think that I'm listening to you. You're on the new Neil Francis song. It's a song called "I Can't Stop the Rain." Before I knew it was you, me and my wife were listening to it, and I said, "Man, that sounds like Derek Trucks." And sure enough, there you are. Was there a point where you realized you had become a distinguishable sound on the guitar?
I don't know if there was a point that hit me. I think I've always I think I learned how to play just wrong and weird from the beginning. So it just all comes out a certain way. And we live down in the swamp. You can't take that out of the sound or the person, so it's just kind of there. I do like the fact that I can't disguise it, so it makes it hard for me to BS anyone. I could try, but I'm not good at it. So you get what you get. So.
Well, it's so fun to listen to you, and I know plenty of us feel the same way. Especially, I want to point out on this record with Layla Revisited, the live at Lock-In, there are these moments in there, and I know you're working with some of the most amazing artists on that stage. I wrote down Keep On Growing, Keys to the Highway. There are these moments, of course, when you all break it down and it builds back up into this moment and then just hits this moment of elation. When you're on that stage, when you're in the moments, you're listening to everybody, I'm sure, but do you feel that? Do you feel when it just hits that perfect moment? Like, can you be aware?
Yeah, I mean, those are things that you're after every night, and some nights you get it a few times, sometimes you get it hopefully at least once. Every once in a while there's a night where you don't get there, but
take one more.
Our friend Colonel Bruce said if you have 3 of those in a row, retire. So you gotta figure it out. But there's nothing like it, man. I mean, it's there's some times when you get into those moments where you get done with a solo or a band moment happens and you're like, I think I forgot to breathe for the last 30 seconds. So like sometimes you get really wound up in it. But one of the things I really love about this band and what I think makes it unique is the ability to just bring things down to a whisper and then unleash all of that sound, 13, 14 people on stage. It's a lot of energy, and you have to be careful with it. You can definitely wear people out if the pedal's down the whole time. But you think of it as like an orchestra. You listen to classical music and you hear that dynamic range, and that's one of the things I learned from my uncle and the Allman Brothers. Is they were a rock band, but they knew how to take it down. They knew how to
right.
Where you can hear the amps breathing and you can hear the sticks on the cymbal, and there's a lot of music and there's a lot of magic in those moments. So, and the threat is a big deal too. When you feel something's coming and you don't know when it's coming, and then when it hits, you feel that, the band and the crowd have those moments at the same time because you can't really plan them. There's a lot of improvisation, and you're working with high level musicians, and they don't always do what you think they're going to do. Thank God.
Well, one of those high-level musicians, of course, Trey Anastasio from Fish, I should point out, big props to him on the record as part of the collaboration on this. And I'll pull it back around to what we were talking about earlier, too, because, you're going out on tour. You had the Fireside Live tour dates, and then you're going to be doing the full band tour as well. But now that you've had that taste of the dual life, do you think you all will work that into the show as well? Will there be moments for that?
Yeah, especially when we do the theater runs. It's nice to break it down. We'll do acoustic sets, or we'll do the small group. And I think we'll keep
Joe pick back up. Joe next.
We do a big tour every summer with a full band, and then maybe we do some smaller shows. It's fun to hear around the corner a little bit. It's fun to hear the different sounds, and it's fun to play differently too. It's good to be on your toes, and it's good to have to fill the space sometimes. It allowed Sue to play a lot more guitar too, which I loved. She's fearless and should not be messed with as a guitar player. she will hurt somebody.
So Derek, before we let you go, I understand you're a big baseball fan, big Braves fan. As a guy who was born in Atlanta about the time the Braves came along, my whole family, we've grown up with the Braves. How you think they have a shot at the playoffs this year?
I mean, a lot of injuries this year, but it's a talented team. Ozzie Albies seems to keep coming on. I mean, growing up, we would drive up to Atlanta 2 or 3 times a year to watch Braves games. Bob Horner and Dale Murphy era, those were my guys. So we're longtime fans and just baseball heads. I had a great uncle that pitched in the majors for 16 years, and we used to visit him when we were passing through Alabama. He was running partners with Satchel Paige and Mantle, and
oh my Lord,
hit the Yankees in 1952. He was Virgil Fire Trucks was an incredible character, and that dude had stories for days. When they traveled back then, it was like the days when you were traveling with Tyler Greenwell. It was get in the van and go, and it was rowdy from what I hear.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the fact that he was running buddies with Satchel Paige, one of the greatest pitchers of all time, just unbelievable. So what exactly is planned for the next year? I mean, you're gonna be on the road for the most part. You're gonna get back into the studio, or mostly just play live?
You know, a lot of it's out of all of our control at this point. So we have shows booked, we have things booked, but you know, we're constantly watching and trying to figure out the smartest and best thing to do. But we're touring, man. We're out there. We're doing the Beacon Theater for a few weeks, which we're excited about. That's kind of a homecoming for the band every year. It's where you check in and figure out if you've gotten better or worse, or figure out what you need to tweak. But, you know, we plan on hitting the road, a lot of outdoor shows this next summer. We have a few records we're finishing up, but we'll stay busy. I found that on the break, it's a little downtime is nice, but I think we're all happier when we're grinding it out and working. So that's what we'll
got to get out there.
Either duo, trio, quartet, hopefully the full band, but it's we realize we really like to play, so that's good.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, we can't wait to see you. I'm going to make sure I drop by the Beacon when you guys are there, and I will bring an extra robe for my good friend Tyler, or Falcon, or whatever they call him.
I'll make sure he's clothed that night. I'll make sure.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Derek. It's great talking to you.
Thank you, man. We'll see you around.